Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Gonna be some black light news going on up in Chess. A lot going on. Figured I'd go live because got some things to do. We're gonna chop it up at the end. You know how we do. Dish out some shorts. Today's news: Trump is attacking the Smithsonian, quoting that slavery wasn't so bad. Uh, Not wanting to spread the truth. Of course, this is Dajjal. This is, this is the illusion. This is like the movie Fahrenheit 3 something something with Michael B. Jordan. They was destroying everything, artwork, books, information, things like that. This is what what Matt Juge has done for time and memoriam. Every library they go to, they destroy them. Okay? They take the goods for themselves and indoctrinate the people thinking that they're lesser than. Without further ado, let's just cue this up right here. President Trump ramps up attacks on Smithsonian.
On your show. So what kind of a reaction are you hearing to this story?
Frustration. There's a lot of frustration out there. There's a lot of individuals who feel like there is an erasure that is happening of history. But also, too, a lot of individuals are feeling there is this anti-Blackness dynamic that is happening. And if you look at it, it started bubbling up to the surface when you start seeing the affirmative action cases going before the Supreme Court. It was very much a Black person is taking away my.
It's always been anti-Blackness. Let's just start right there. All right. It's what we've been saying the whole time. Honestly, this wicked orange man has been a blessing to people's psyche. First time he was voted for, everybody's like, oh no, racism isn't like that, especially foreigners and immigrants. Oh, it's not like that, this and that. You've seen the racism, okay? Sleepy Joe Biden slept through 4 years. Now we got him back again, trying to tell the Latino population and Caribbeans and Africans, you guys, will not be accepted. You guys aren't really, not what you think. You keep going back to your homelands, acting like elitist white Americans in your own countries. You're not building them up. Let's be honest. Let's be clear. Y'all go back to your beautiful countries and you have your own vacations. Okay.
Spot. I know I had to deal with that when I was at the University of Michigan. One of the first cases against Bollinger was actually my freshman year, where one of the defendants said that a Black person took her seat. And so the tension that caused being on campus. And then you see what's happening too with this anti-DEI movement, right? There's always the idea that a Black person is unqualified, but we're not looking at the full scope and spectrum of what DEI actually is and actually is dealing with those who
no. Brother. No, brother, man. No. I can't do it with you right now, man. That is crazy. Why are you talking like that?
President Trump is now ordering a review of the Smithsonian museums, accusing the institutions of focusing too much on, quote, how bad slavery was. He made that comment in a.
Thank you for your diction and your voice, my clear-skinned brother. I really appreciate that because I don't know what that effeminate brother was talking about. Man.
Social media post yesterday, the president says he will subject the museums to the exact same process his administration.
Nobody even go to Smithsonian. You know how much shit is under the Smithsonian that they holding and got in secrets? He just trying to put even more. Like I said before, why do I know one paragraph about my so-called Black history in America and only one aspect of it? You know what I mean? Show me 100% African descendant in America that's a descendant of the prisoners of war and mutilation and breeding in America, and I'll show you a Black unicorn. Power to you. You lucky. All right.
Has conducted at universities, which have faced federal funding cuts over DEI and anti-Semitism concerns. Trump's comments come 1 week after his administration.
Well, hold on. I know he ain't. What did I say? The museums were at Washington, but all over the country are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. What, you old ass? The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is. It is. How bad slavery was. How bad slavery was is insane. This literally was Epstein's continent. All right. You guys SA'd so many children, men and women, mutilations, force feedings, teeth breakings, ate us, used our grease for your wheels, used our skin for your leather, hangings, having your children watch it as if it's like a 4th of July, you know, the breeding, the breaking up the homes, the stealing of inventions, the bombing of our communities, the razing of our towns, meaning burning them to the ground, like Yajuj wa Majuj is infamous for doing. Jim Crow, CIA, crack cocaine, the opium crisis, the marriage laws, all the way to Cadillac Records, and Lady Sings the Blues, niggas with attitude. It goes on and on. Eric Gardner, you know what I'm saying? The little boy that got shot. Yo, it's literally something on the news where these 2 white kids ran away from home and they were shooting at police. Children shooting at police. Look it up. I'm dead ass.
Trump's comments come 1 week after his administration told the museums they would be required to adjust any content the White House finds problematic in, quote, tone, historical framing, and alignment with American ideals ahead of the country's 250th anniversary next year. Earlier this year, NBC News found at least 32 artifacts once on display at the National Museum of African American History and Culture had been removed, including a book belonging to Harriet Tubman. White House officials said yesterday the president plans to extend his review of museums beyond the Washington-based institution, saying he will hold the Smithsonian accountable and, quote, then go from there. Where to begin, Reverend Sharpton? This is a whitewashing of history through the...
Not Al Sharpton. Not Al. That is the wrong Negro you need up there. This nigga, man. I can't stand Al Sharpton.
guise of one man and one movement telling a new story of our history as a country.
And what is so blatantly offensive about it is the inferences there was some good side to slavery. I mean, people were dehumanized, names taken, families broken up, made to labor with no wages. About 13 years ago, a reporter found my family roots, found out that my great-grandfather was a slave in Edgefield, South Carolina, owned by Alexander Sharpton. And
his great-grandfather. My great-grandfather was a slave. Ivory. His name was Ivory Gainey or Ivory Gaines. His wife's name was Josephine. I'm 35 and my great-grandfather was a slave.
it occurred to me, I'm named after my great-grandfather's slave master. Even my name is not my name. And on top of that, he was married to Anne.
How you just now figure that out, dumbass? You know what? Let me just go. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm not sorry, actually. I can't stand an old coon doing old tricks. What you act like this is something new. Anyways, this reminds me of this right here. The title of this right here. This is from Dave Hoffman. Big name, you know what I'm saying? Very good channel. Some very informative stuff right here. Check this out.
My entire life, so I love being in the kitchen, and I'm constantly throwing my brows. So when some of my friends mention,
what was life like in those early days? As far as the colored people were concerned, I feel that they were a good bit happier than they are now. They had less in the way of material things. But I can remember back in the 20s when I was a small boy, they were always singing at their work.
He said we was happier when we was slaves. And in the 20s, we'd be singing at work. Or we sang to work to get through the pain and have the energy to continue. Not only that, also singing different codes and messages to each other. Okay? Call that slang today. Okay, Cracker Joe?
They had a great sense of humor. Now today,
Great sense of humor. We sang our work for you. We make you laugh big. Wow.
they just don't seem to care much about that as they used to. And I think they've lost their sense of somewhat, which I deplore.
What do you think are the differences between the races?
I think there's a refusal to accept responsibility. I think there's a lack of motivation. I've tried here to promote people to foremen, superintendents, but they just refuse to do it. They just don't want the responsibility. They don't worry like the white man.
Doesn't mean does he look like a straight demon, like a cartoon? Like, have you ever seen Cow and Chicken, the devil with the thumper, the ears? You know what I'm saying? Look at him, red, smokeless fire.
If they have troubles, they go to sleep and wake up the next morning, and that trouble is over.
Is it possible that white people have something to do with the lack of ability for blacks to assimilate into this culture?
Absolutely. The white man has certainly been prejudiced and to quite an extent unfair. But customs die awful hard. It takes.
He said quite an extent, to quite an extent. And customs die hard. Well, you're going to have to get ready for something.
Takes a long time. And everyone knew years ago that the Negro would have to be given equality.
Wow. That the nigger would slap them red glasses off. His bow tie would have been like, wow.
But in the South, knowing Negroes as
Now, I'm not like one of the ones to be like, just say it and not really be about that. Like, yeah, nah, like my whole job really hate me because I'm not taking they wannabe colonial shit. All anti-black word.
we think we do, we realize it would take time. It's been compared to straightening teeth. It takes a slow, steady pressure. You can't do it with a hammer.
Was it slow, steady pressure when you brought motherfuckers over here? Was that slow and steady? Or did you come down like a hammer? Hey, when I do it, it's a problem. But when you do it, it's all good.
And white people's attitudes will change in time. I'm a lot more liberal than I was 5 years ago, and I know I'll be a lot more liberal 5 years from now, and I think almost everyone else.
Speaking of liberal, that ain't nothing but a fox. That's more carnivorous than a wolf. Conservative is just a wolf out in the open, clunky. You know what I mean? Pack life. Watch out for them foxes.
Is in that category.
What has tended to make you more liberal?
Tell me you about to lie without telling me. Look at your skin. Damn. What the fuck? That sun ain't made for you.
Well, realization that the Negro is a human being like anyone else.
Mr. Hasty, what did you think we were?
You just want more workers for whatever company that you talking about. You trying to make people foremans at. And they wasn't going to take your racist shit.
Before you began to think of us as human beings?
Well, in a way, we thought of you almost as a very superior pet. Something, or rather someone, we had to take care of because we had to do so much of their thinking for them.
Well, when you take 200,000 people on a monthly voyage across the Atlantic in a turbulent era because you was too stupid to follow the current, most of those people, elderly and such, sickly, the pregnant, those people would die. Babies were born in those ships. You selling people, having their parents, their first teachers or their mothers, here, there, everywhere, because your Protestant values. The only difference between the Spaniards is that they were more open in their breeding and their rape and their they used to keep families together because they were Catholic. Now back to you. You separating people and people born into purgatory, born into this hell, which is everyone's heaven. How the fuck are they gonna know what to do? What's up, what's down, what's left, what's right? If you just lived on a football field all your life, okay, and murdered if you learned how to read or write.
We had to do almost everything for them, except living their own lives. Anything outside, we had to do for them.
So Daisy was my little playmate, my maid, my friend, and the daughter of old Catherine, who was the cook that we adored. And so all those years, we played together, and everyone was happy. We never heard of all these things that we hear about today. And there were
Heard about what? Revolution?
nearly 100 enormous rice plantation with many animals around and a beautiful old house and about 100 colored people there. But we loved them. They were our friends. And then it's no disgrace to say they're like children.
You loved them. They were your friends. I'm not racist. My best friend is black. Sound familiar?
When we say that.
Look at this creature. Look at it. The pointy nose and then the Neanderthalic nose brow. The lips is tight. You look like a mask, bitch. You look like a Halloween mask. Party City. Halloween spirit.
It's because they are like happy children, some of them.
They all like happy children, some of them.
Because they like to sit in the sun and rather than work hard. And they'd rather play than work.
If you
I think I'd rather play than fucking be in the field doing whatever kind of fucking work.
Could, would you paint a picture for us of what it was like on the plantation in your early days?
It was a lovely, happy time living in open spaces with many lovely colored people and animals and flowers and fields. My father had everything thoroughbred, from the pigs, horses, the dogs, and the people had to be thoroughbred. And we would get into a buggy with him and drive to the plantation from what we call the pine.
They would eat the slosh with the animals. That's insane. Look at his evil face. I'm just stopping this off the dribble. Look at it. Look at it. Like It the Clown.
And where we lived. And we would spend every Saturday, this was, and we would spend.
So those the first fake eyebrows right there? Because I know you ain't got one. Damn, Gertrude, fix your shit.
The day in old Fortune, I can see him now. Would
Now that I think about it, it was the slaves that probably used to do their makeup. First beauticians.
give us dinner, and we would have a heavenly time. And old April, he was the dairyman. That's all he did. All he did was to skim the cream over these great big bowls of clabber and put them in the wooden churn and churn this marvelous fresh butter. That was April's job. He didn't do anything else but love us. And
Delusional. You really think that? Hey, some of them did. Some of them did, though. But you really think the motherfuckers? You really think my people loved you?
skim the cream.
All he did was skim the cream. That is insane. I just had to put that up there. Shout out to Dave Hoffman. That is crazy, yo. Just saying. In other news, got a hurricane approaching North Carolina. Got family out there. I pray inshallah they're okay. Can we all do a power dua for them? All right, let's check it out. Hurricane Erin. What's going on?
Because I don't think people quite know the size of this storm. And that's the reason why we're going to see some of those outer bands on the Outer Banks coast of all of the Carolinas, honestly.
Yeah, if you're not paying attention to the details of this, you're talking about a storm that's not going to make landfall. So what's the big deal with this? Well, we're already starting to see massive numbers of rescues being performed in the last couple of days due to rip currents, and the storm is still just under 500 miles away from the North Carolina coast. So as this gets closer, it's going to create bigger issues, including overwash, which we've already seen in some areas, high surf, coastal flooding, just to name a few. The storm has changed a bit during the overnight hours. It is starting to expand in size, looking a lot healthier than it has since in the afternoon Monday when it started to experience some wind shear. It's starting to leave all that behind, and it's picking up some forward speed. North-northwest movement at 13 miles per hour. Winds are still 100. We're waiting for the 5 a.m. advisory to come in, but it may strengthen here this morning. If not at 5, then maybe a little bit later on. It is expected to potentially become a major hurricane again, pretty close to the North Carolina coast as it starts to take that slow turn to the north and to the east, and eventually kind of merge with the overall weather pattern and making things a little more extratropical. Looking at current wind speeds across the state, they're still relatively light. And around that circulation, we've got a couple of showers, maybe a few squalls mixed in here and there. Approaching the coastline, rain is not expected to be a major issue along the coast from the storm, just far enough away that they won't see the big rains, but some bigger bands on the outer edge may just clip them from time to time. We've got a pretty quiet morning overall across the area. Our temperatures have settled into the mid to upper 60s across most of the Piedmont, 65 in Jefferson. It's also the temperature in High Point this morning. Your Triad forecast is going to be a warm one. Yesterday's high was only 80 degrees. The cloud cover never really broke up all that much. We did have some peaks here and there. We should see more today. Northwest winds at 5 to 10, perhaps a little fog in the morning, but temperatures just a few degrees below average for today. A warm day across the foothills. Might see a shower a little bit later in the day. Some patchy fog potentially west. Much better rain chances for the mountains, especially along the ridgeline. You can see that on the hour-by-hour forecast. Chance for showers as storm starts to pop up around 2 or 3 o'clock this afternoon, fading during the evening hours. It probably won't get much farther east than the far western foothills. Temperatures back near 70 tomorrow morning. Should be a muggier day with Erin on approach. Could see a few showers and thunderstorms popping up. There's also a cold front sliding in from the north and west. That's going to trigger some wet weather. It's also the force that's helping to steer Erin away from the coast. Now, it's a different story on the models for the coastline. You can see the outer band starting to get a little bit closer. Wednesday night and Thursday should be the biggest impact from potentially some decent rain, the highest swells, and the gustiest winds starting to pull away during the day on Thursday before it moves into the open waters of the Atlantic. The effects will likely linger for much of Friday before it begins to taper off. And even though the weather will be better this weekend, if you've got plans to go to the coast for the week, you might want to check with your local authorities in those locations to see what the storm did. Wind gusts could be into the 50s Wednesday night and early Thursday across the Outer Banks. That by far and away is the areas likely going to feel the biggest impact from this storm system. Tropical storm warnings in place from Cape Lookout all the way up to Duck. We're expecting 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. Waves could be 15 to 20 feet in height, potentially even higher, and that high rip current risk is likely going to last through at least Friday and potentially into the weekend.
Thanks so much, Brian. And you can stay up to the minute on Erin or be prepared for any storms throughout hurricane season when you...
Wow, that's wild right there. Local news out here in LA. There's an indictment, federal indictment on a gang called the Hoovers. Now, this gang allegedly, the feds are out. The neighborhoods already had an indictment, right? Shout out to Rap News, Street Whoops. And these are some children, you know, these are some children that they've been trafficking, you know, extremely sad stuff. And I'm just trying to look for this one point, you know, in the ignorance of some of these people are saying, oh, someone is snitching, all this is going on. But these are children. I'm just trying to look for one of these sidebars, because in this indictment, one of these, you know, alleged actors, they said, come buy this girl for $1,000 before I sell her organs over the border. I'm like, yo, why is nobody even talking about that? This man is talking about selling organs. You know how many black children is missing across America? It's disgusting. You know, it was a day and age where it was more rules to these things, you know, and like organs, like actual organs. You know what I mean? Like I said, yeah, choose but not choose. It is not just a certain phenotype anymore. It's not you know, homogenous. People's it's a demented energy. It's that hunger for more. It's that the not caring for human beings. This man said, come buy this girl for $1,000 while I'm gonna sell her organs over the border down to Tijuana. You know, that is crazy. I think that needs to be looked at. Like, word is born. There's so many black children missing across America. He said, if you don't buy her, he gonna sell them. Oh, that's crazy. So we're gonna chop this up. You know how we do here. Abdullah Abbott, Black Light Out.